Going on a cruise is exciting, but there are definitely some things that you need to make sure that you have done before you board your cruise. As a matter of fact, that 30-day window is pretty important to make sure that you've done a lot of the things that should be on your pre-cruise checklist. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, there are a lot of things that you need to do before a cruise, and that 30-day window is pretty important. There are things that you should do because if you don't do, you'll actually not be able to board the cruise. That would be a problem. And there are other things that you should do just because it will make your cruise better. It will make sure that you don't miss out on any of the things that you want to do during your cruise. Now, by the way, even if you've been on a cruise before, this video can still be helpful as a reminder. As a matter of fact, I am not perfect. I actually made the mistake of waiting to do something until about a week ago when during the middle of the night, I woke up and remembered that I forgot to do this one thing, which I will share with you in this video. Thank goodness I did remember, so disaster averted. But in any case, now before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, I'm going to start off with something basic, but not having this right actually is probably the biggest potential problem that you can have to board your cruise. So this is essential. Check your cruise reservation and documentation for accuracy. What you're looking for in particular is you are looking for that the names on your reservation are spelled correctly, that they are exactly what you have in your passport or other government ID if applicable, and of course check that the birth dates are correct as well. Now, while you're at it, make sure that the other information on your booking is correct, so pay attention to the cabin number, and if you did book with any perks or any promotions, so whether it was free gratuities or maybe you got a perks package, make sure that you do see it noted on the booking, and you can print out that reservation and even keep it with you and even bring it with you on the cruise if you like. Now, of course, you do not need to wait till 30 days before the cruise to do this, but if you have not done this already, this is the time to do it. Number two, do your online check-in either on the cruise line website or on the cruise line app. Now, something that you'll want to do is make sure that you do have the passport, well, for you and anybody else that you are doing this online check-in for, passports or any other applicable ID if you are using that. And as well, something to note is that you'll want to have a credit card as well. The cruise lines will ask you to put down a credit card that will basically handle any incidental charges once you're on board the cruise. Now, I know sometimes people ask this, so even if you put a credit card down, if you do want to pay off your bill in cash when you're on board the cruise, you can do that. Number three, check your passport, in particular for the expiry date. For many places that we might travel to, there is a rule that you need to have at least 6 months left on your passport before it expires after the last date that you travel. So do check on that. And as well, something to check for is any visas that you might need, any waivers that you might need, any permits that you might need. Now, oftentimes that information will be available generally by the cruise line, but you'll want to check as well for any information with the countries that you are going to travel to. Number four, moving on to things that are a little bit more fun. Find a roll call for your cruise. Now, how do you find a roll call for your cruise? Well, you could find cruise roll calls on Facebook, and basically what you do is you'd simply do a search for your cruise ship and date, and you'll often find roll calls that have been set up. Now, otherwise, you could find a roll call on Cruise Critic and other message boards and forums. Now, what is a roll call? Well, basically, this is a group of people that are sort of chatting online about the upcoming cruise that they're all taking. It's a good place to get information about excursions, about the cruise ship. People will remind each other of different dates that are coming up. Sometimes there are special activities that are organized, including a cabin crawl or a slot pool or optional excursions that people can join or a meet and greet. So these are all some fun things to do before your cruise. Now, please let me know, by the way, if you do enjoy joining a roll call, whether it's on Facebook or somewhere else, please let me know down in the comments below. Book your hotel for pre and post cruise. And this is where I made a mistake. I booked for a cruise that I have coming up. I booked my pre-cruise hotel. However, I am staying in Rome for 2 days after my cruise. And somehow I forgot to think about the end of my cruise and I forgot to book my hotel in Rome. However, I have to say I did pay more than had I booked it early, and I didn't have the choice of hotels that I probably would have wanted. So lesson learned, book your hotels as soon as possible. But if you haven't done it by 30 days before your cruise, make sure to do so. Now, something to look for when it comes to the hotels that you're booking for pre-cruise in particular is you might want to try to find a hotel that is close by to the cruise port. If it is a hotel that includes a shuttle or even includes breakfast, that is something that is just really handy, so you don't have to think about it on embarkation morning. Now, cruise lines do often have pre and post cruise hotels that you can book. They're often a little bit more expensive than if you do book it directly, but sometimes they do include transfers and other advantages, so it is something that you can always look into when you are booking your cruise. Number 6, book your embarkation day check-in time. Now, sometimes this can be done with your online check-in, but other times cruise lines do have, well, a time period when you can book this. So on some cruise lines, it might be 28 to 30 days before your cruise that you can go on to their app or the website and you can book your embarkation day check-in time. And in other cases, it's 14 days or even less. It can be 7 days. So you might want to make a note of that. Now, on a recent cruise that we did, it was with Carnival. I knew that the times opened up 14 days before. Now, what I did is I set a notification for 14 days before. I actually waited up till midnight because I wanted to snag that earliest embarkation time possible. And yes, we did get the 10 to 10:30 time slot, and we were on board our cruise ship by 11:45 a.m. Now, by the way, if you're wondering how to keep organized with a list of to-dos and all of the different things that you need to do to be prepared for your cruise, I do have, as part of the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner, I do have several pages that are dedicated to the cruise countdown and the pre-cruise checklist. Now, just to let you know, the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner is a downloadable printable, so you can print out the pages that you need as often as you want. But what I did is I actually went to a local printer that we have here, and I had the pages that I wanted to, well, I had them bound. So in any case, the pre-cruise checklist really does include what you need to do 6 months before your cruise, a month before your cruise, a week before your cruise, a day before your cruise, and it's left blank because we all need to personalize what we need to do personally. So in any case, that is part of the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner. Now, of course, in addition to the pre-cruise checklist, you also do have cruise packing lists for cold and warm weather cruises. You also have embarkation day checklist, debarkation day checklist, hotel planning forms, and more. I will leave all of the information about the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner linked down below in the description of this video in case you are interested in checking it out. Number 7, research and book your shore excursions. Now, whether you book shore excursions with a cruise line or you book them privately, or you just decide to go on your own in a cruise port, you really do want to do this around the 30-day mark. Now, in particular, if you are booking with a cruise line, you definitely want to start booking your shore excursions now. The shore excursions can actually really fill up. I'm actually finding that ever since the pandemic, it seems like more people are booking shore excursions with a cruise line. So if there is something that you really want to do, make sure that you book it as soon as possible. Now, you also want to make any of your other onboard reservations. So that includes your main dining room as well as your specialty restaurant reservations. Now, oftentimes, if you have open dining, don't stress too much about reservations for the open dining. They can almost always accommodate you. But what you do really want to plan for to avoid disappointment is those specialty restaurants. They definitely do book up. If there is a restaurant that you want to go to, make sure that you do make those bookings early. Book your spa appointments. Now, this is something that I recently found out is that oftentimes if you book your spa appointments early, so on the cruise line app or on their website, what you can do is not only book your time, but sometimes you will get promotions, and you will notice that on some days you might find that the spa appointment, that it's actually less expensive one day than another, or even at one time of day than another. So it's always better to do this before your cruise so that you have the most choices, and at the same time it will be more budget friendly. Book your travel insurance. Now, everybody's needs are different. Sometimes you may have booked your travel insurance with your travel agent or maybe directly through the cruise line, or you may have travel insurance through your credit card or through your place of work. So this is something to look into before you do go on a cruise. Now, I never make any recommendations for travel insurance because our needs are different depending on where we live. The rules can be different. So I simply don't want to recommend anything in particular, but I do suggest that you do look into it. A simple Google search or asking even on Facebook or on a cruise forum will give you many ideas. Start a cruise packing list. So you do want to make sure that you have your list of not only your clothing, so something to think about when it comes to clothing for your cruise is what are you going to need for the daytime, for the evening, for shore excursions, and pool wear. On top of that, you'll want to make sure that you mark down any toiletries that you need and maybe even anything that you need to buy. So keep a little shopping list handy of the different items that you want to add to your list and make sure you pack. Now, something that I like to do is keep a space in a spare bedroom. I actually hang up some of the cruise outfits that I might want to wear. And as well, I might keep an open suitcase or a bin where I am putting different items that I think I'll probably want to bring on my cruise, especially if I'm not using them every day. And this way, I'm not running around the house looking for those items in the few days before my cruise. They've already been gathered in the right place. Now, by the way, if you have any cruise packing tips or little organization tricks that you use, please do let me know down in the comments below. Check for potential cabin upgrade opportunities. Now, it does happen around 30 days before a cruise. Some people may have canceled. There may be availability on cabins. So something that you'll want to do is check to see if there are any paid upgrade opportunities or if you can bid for an upgrade for a cabin if you haven't done so already. Just taking a look on the cruise line website and the availability will give you an idea of your chances. Make any special requests. So if you have any special requests from the cruise line, so for instance, if you have a dietary requirement, if you have an allergy, if you have any needs, so for instance, if you are traveling with a CPAP and now you need distilled water and you need an extension cord, this is a good time to let them know. Rent a scooter or a wheelchair. Now, did you know that if you're going on a cruise, you can actually rent a scooter or a wheelchair from companies that do help out with this? Now, you cannot rent them directly from the cruise line. However, there are a couple of companies that I know of. One of them is Scootaround and the other one is Special Needs at Sea. And what they will do is they will actually be able to deliver a scooter or a wheelchair to your cruise ship to be waiting for you. And that could be really handy if you're somebody that has any mobility issues. Now, there is a cost to this, but it's definitely something worth looking into if you need it. By the way, if you are traveling with somebody who might need a little bit of help just on embarkation day at the port when it comes to having a wheelchair, for instance, you can actually notify the cruise line and they will be able to help with that at the embarkation port. Check out your cruise ship and find out all the tips and secrets. So something that you'll want to do is watch videos about your cruise ship. So for instance, reviews and ship tours. You can also look even at the schematics of the ship itself. But something that you might want to do is try to find out those really good tips and tricks. So you might want to find out what restaurants are open on embarkation day for lunch, or is there self-service laundry on board? Do you need to pre-book any shows? And are there any must-sees and must-dos that you'll want to plan for during your cruise? Save your money. Now, I'm not talking about budgeting for your cruise. That's always something good to do. What I'm actually talking about, just saving some dollar bills. So some small bills, dollars, $5, $10. Just gather those over the month before your cruise or even before, and those can be great to use for tips, whether it's the bartenders, whether it's the porters, or even the shore excursion guides. At the end of a tour, it is customary, oftentimes if you did enjoy that tour, to give a small tip to the shore excursion guide. Contact your bank or credit card company to let them know that you are going to be traveling. And this is especially true if you're going to be traveling internationally and you don't usually do so. You don't want your bank account or your credit card to be frozen. Oftentimes you can do this online or by calling your bank or credit card provider. Now, as an additional tip, if you're traveling internationally, think about if you do need to get out any local money, so any foreign currency. So for instance, if you're going on a Canada New England cruise, it is really handy to have some Canadian dollars. If you're going to Europe, it is really handy, actually very important to have euros. Print out a list of your medication. At the same time, it's a good idea to get a little bit of extra medication and plan to bring that on your cruise as well. Check with your cell phone provider about any international roaming plans. Now, this can be great for cruise ports. Just know what to expect and see if you can purchase any plan that is going to be a little bit more budget friendly. I do suggest still though that when you are on the cruise ship that you do put your phone into airplane mode. It seems like for most people this is still the best way to travel by cruise to avoid any unwanted big bills from your cell phone provider that were unexpected. Okay, now I think this is one that a lot of people forget about, but you definitely want to remember to make sure that you make these appointments in advance. So basically, these are any self-care appointments. Just make sure that you do make any spa appointments, any hairdresser appointments, or men, any barber appointments. If you need waxing, pedicures, manicures, any of that stuff, you want to make sure that you have those appointments all set up for those few days before you cruise. Print out all documentation as you go, especially in the last 30 days before your cruise. As you book your hotel, simply print out that documentation. As you do your online check-in, as you have your luggage tags, make sure, by the way, that you do print them. I do suggest that you get luggage tag holders. Those are really handy to be able to use rather than having to fold the paper and staple it right before you cruise. So I suggest you do use luggage tag holders. I will leave, by the way, the links to luggage tag holders down below in the description of this video, but that is something that you'll want to do before your cruise. Now, something that I do is whenever I have emails that come in, any of my bookings, things like that, I do keep them all in a folder in my email as well. Keep an Amazon cruise shopping list. Now, you might already have an Amazon cruise shopping list, but I like to gather things before I go. Now, a lot of people keep items in their cart, and of course, only buy the items that you need, but there can be things that can be really handy, from packing cubes to a money belt to magnet hooks. So everybody's needs are different. A hanging toiletry bag, I absolutely think that's essential, but those are all things that you'll want to gather in your Amazon cart or gather from your local store if that's something that you prefer. And the last 30 days before a cruise are a good time to do it. Now, I'm going to leave the information about the LifeWell Cruise Ultimate Cruise Planner linked down below in the description of this video in case you do want to check out what is included. And I'll also leave a video at the end of this one, which is my most recent Amazon Cruise Travel Essentials for the summer. I hope that you enjoyed this video and it was helpful. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.